Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Well, I'm finally back to working on the mini workbench. It's been quite some time since I started working on this project. As a matter of fact, I got quite the surprise when I looked at the file dates for the original recordings that I took, one of which you're looking at right here, right now. I started working on this project, picking out the wood and deciding what sizes to cut everything and the overall dimensions, all the initial, things you need to figure out for this sort of stuff back in November of last year. And that's just ridiculous. I know it's been a hot summer and I know I've been really, really busy, but I need to get to work on this. I need to get this done. Not so much just for having a portable workbench for job sites and also in the shop itself, because you'll notice in a lot of things that I do, I put a piece of plywood on top of my table saw and I do a lot of work on that. So I need something a little bit more permanent. But one of the things I need, and this is going to sound kind of silly, but it is actually quite true, I need this as an actual bench, something I can sit on. I get an awful lot of drywall jobs that I need to do, and I don't do drywall jobs where I'm replacing an entire rec room or whatever. The drywall jobs I get are usually from water damage where I need to go in and trim off about the bottom foot and a half, maybe even 2 feet of the drywall in a basement, and check for water damage, all the other stuff you need to do, like replace insulation and make barriers, all that sort of stuff. But the important bit here is it is all within a foot and a half to 2 feet of the bottom, and it's in a basement, and it's all concrete. So I spend a lot of time kneeling on concrete, even with knee pads and other stuff. My knees aren't what they used to be. So I tend to sometimes bring in, like a small stool or something to sit on. And I find that a lot better. But again, it's not at, an ideal height or anything because this is something I'm making do with. So part of this workbench, believe it or not, is just going to be something for me to sit on while I do these projects. And that's not to belittle the fact that I do need it for a lot of other stuff. It's just my motivation, let's say, for getting to work on it at this point. Because I spent the week that's just gone by, I did 5 drywall jobs, most of which I spent on my knees, which is, again, like I said, just really, really annoying. So I actually got this reasonable. I am not a good planer. I'm not a carpenter by any chance, by the way. I think I've mentioned that a lot in the beginning, but then I sort of stopped doing that. I like working with my hands, but like I said, I'm not a carpenter. Fortunately for me, I have a very good friend who is a carpenter, has all the tools and everything else that he needs. So if I mess this up, Claude, you'll be hearing from me. He has generously offered to for me to use his planer, and what that's going to do for me is, if I mess this up, I only had one restriction, that is it has to be under, I think it was 14 1/4 inches. This is just under 14 inches, so that's nice. And if it's like too wonky, too wavy, all that sort of unimportant stuff as far as, well, what I'm going to treat this thing as, but important as far as its ability to be used as a workbench, I'll be able to run it through his planer. So that's my safety net. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build a template, because I want to put obviously dog holes in this so I can I want to build some clamps, and I want to build a few other things. And one of the things I really, really want to do for this is I want to be able to cut 45s when I am out working on a job site without having to worry too much about setting it up. So part of that clamping system is going to be set up so that the holes will line up properly for 45. I'll show you how that's going to work in a few minutes. So that's part of the reasons for doing this, just so I can quickly do something and be able to hold things down. So I have a bunch of ideas for various things I'm going to put in this and work for it. But we'll get to all those much later, because I have to actually get the bench itself together first. So what I'm doing here, I'm making a template, because as I mentioned, I want to be able to do 45s from these bench dogs. So what I want to be able to do is I want to set this up very, very accurately. That said, oh, sorry, that's a bit of an aside here. I still have my Mastercraft stuff. I got really tired of having to go and take everything out of my vehicle and pull out the tools I need to work on like these projects, and then load everything back up. And it was just getting annoying having to go back and forth all the time. So what I did is there was a big sale on. I think it was Amazon Prime had Prime Days, whatever it was. So I picked up a really cheap DeWalt here. But you'll notice that the bit I'm using here, these are not the ones I use for work. These are the old ones I had kicking around, and I'm trying to make them work, but they're too worn out, and I haven't bought new ones yet. I mean, I know they're cheap, but it was, like I said, I thought I'd just make do. Well, I got fed up right about here, and I decided what I'm going to do is go up and get the ones that I need, and these ones are new. These ones, you put them in, they stay in place, and yeah, you can dry them in. Anyway, it's just gets spoiled when you actually have good tools, and yeah, I need to get some more drivers for, well, basically what I need is a Robson number 2, which is mostly what I work on for these small templates and stuff. Don't really need much else for anything else. So there you go. That's where it's going to sit. I'm going to drill some holes in this because I need to attach it to the ways of my mill, because I want to keep this nice and straight. I want this to be as accurate as I can get without getting silly about it. I mean, I could get it down to very, very accurate, but again, I mean, time is important. So these holes aren't important at all. I'm just eyeballing these. These have to line up with the ways that you see there. I'm going to be bolting these, as you can see right here, one on one end, one on the other. I originally had intended to put one on the other side, just so it's being held from two sides. But unfortunately, with a piece of wood and where the ways are positioned, it was just in the way. It was in the way of the ways. So that was unintentional, by the way. All right, so I am going to get this accurately held down. And then the nice thing about this is once this is in place, I am going to be able to just put them in, drill a hole, flip it, drill a hole, and I can get all 8 holes drilled really, really fast. And then it's a very short and easy process to drill the next 8 holes, which is basically the total I'm going to have here. And that's pretty much as far as I'm going to get today, because, well, first off, this video is going to be 12 minutes long, and I did not want to leave out too much of the important details. There you go, nice and solid. This is an old scrap piece of wood, but fortunately it was nice and flat, and well, of course the waves are very flat, so it actually worked out really quite well, which is, it's nice when that happens. So I am going to fiddle with this for a little bit. The nice thing about having a mill over a drill press is I can just ever so slightly move things around and get things as accurate as possible. And yeah, it is, like I said, one of the benefits of that over a drill press. And once I have it lined up, the actual positioning of the hole itself, as long as it's centered, is not too big a deal. I think I arbitrarily chose 4 inches. It's not really important. This is the important one, and I double checked it just to make sure that it was in the center. And it is, so that's good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill this, flip it, drill the other ones, and then I'm going to show you my reasonings for the positioning for the second set of holes. That is something I wouldn't call it agonized over, but I did spend a lot of time thinking about, because first off, I need to be able to fit, most of the 45s deal are for baseboards, so I need to be able to fit that inside whatever clamping system I have, so they can't be too close. And the other thing I need to do, of course, is be able to not have too many holes and too many holes close together. I don't want to obviously weaken this. So I drilled the first one, and now I'm going to set the stop for the mill, just so that I don't have to pay attention to how much I'm drilling through this. And now just quickly drill 7 more of these things. And this is a very accurate 1-inch bit, and that's the size I decided to go with for the dogs and the other clamping systems I'm going to have. And also, I think I'm going to be using that as part of the attachment system for the legs for this, because, like I said, I want to use this as a bench, so I want to be able to have it removable. So there you go. This is the first set of holes, And what I'm going to do now is show you a little bit of it. I'm not going to show a lot of it. What I want to show you is my decisions for where to place the holes. So when you set this up in the center of the hole at 45, if I did the next set of holes over right there, it's too close. There's not enough room there to fit anything in between it. So I decided to go with the one adjacent to it, which is over here. That gives me a lot of space, so I can fit pretty much any size baseboard in there that I want. And what I'll do, of course, at some point when I get this actually finished, is I'll set that up. I will set it up so that I can clamp it down and use the clamping system as part of the guide for the cutting system. So basically it's going to be like a miter box, but one that I can reposition and set depending on how I need it. So there you go. I'm going to set this up, drill very quickly, which is, I was so glad I made this this template. And it made things so much simpler once it was set up. Again, I'm double checking here because I only really eyeballed it on the ways. I mean, there is a groove that I could see right at the leading edge, and it looked really good. But I wanted to double check. I said, no point in getting all this way and then just messing up because I didn't want to measure. So yeah, this is the second set of holes, and the nice thing about it is it worked out really quite well. What I did is I measured, I drew a line on each of them, and then I measured that line from the center point, and it all turned out to be 11 inches. So it was, that was good. I was glad that they were very accurate. It was kind of funny drilling through here because, as you can see, there are a few knots, but I actually managed to eliminate one of them because it was right where the hole is going to be. So there you go. That's the 45 right in the center of one hole, going up to the next one. I'm going to show you it in a close-up here in a second. Anyway, leave comments. Let me know what you think about all this, and I'll see you in the next video. And bye for now, and hopefully in the next video I will get some legs on this thing, and of course glue everything together.